If you can just focus on these few specific key concepts, you are going to see growth, because in this video, we're going to cover the 20% of the input that results in 80% of your gains. So first things first, let's cover diet, since that seems to be the one that most people believe is their issue. So when it comes to diet, there's a lot of different factors. There's protein, there's macros, there's fibers, there's meal timing, there's calories. But when it comes to building muscle, the 80-20 of diet is literally just eating enough food. That's it. If you're eating enough food, you're gonna grow. If you don't eat enough food, you're not gonna grow. It's as simple as that. You can do all the other things right, but if you don't eat enough, you're gonna fail to grow. You can track your macros, you can take your BCAA supplement. Think about it. If you track your macros but you don't eat enough, you're not gonna grow. If you take your BCAA supplements but you don't eat enough, you're not gonna grow. If you do your meal timings correct, but you don't eat enough, you're not gonna grow. Here's the next one. If you get enough protein, but you don't eat enough, you're not gonna grow. How do you expect to reasonably grow when you're not in a surplus? You gotta eat enough in order to actually experience growth. And the opposite's true as well. If you eat enough, but you didn't do your macros correctly, you're still gonna grow. If you eat enough, but you didn't track your fibers, or you didn't time your meals correctly, you're still gonna grow. If you eat enough, but you didn't hit your protein, you're still gonna grow. It's just gonna be slightly less optimal. The 80-20 of building muscle is literally just eating enough food. Okay, next we have consistency. So when it comes to consistency, what you really need to focus on, what separates newbies from people who have made significant gains, what separates the average from the great, is the people who show up on the hard days. When it comes to consistency, when it comes to making your days, you only need to focus on the hard days. If you're going to the gym, you're already gonna go on the easy days. It's a given. You're already gonna be doing that. What you really need to put more of your focus on are the hard days, that one day in the week where you have to wake up at 4 a.m., that one day in the week where your boss yelled at you the night before, you had a stressful night, you have to take care of some errands, and you can only get 4 hours of sleep. This is the day that's gonna separate you from average. This is the day that's gonna make or break who you are going to become, who you want to become. If you can't get past this little bit of resistance, you're not going to change. You're going to stay the same. You have to push through the resistance. You have to push through the fact that it's very, very hard. It's very, very difficult. Life's making very, very difficult. And if you can do that, if you can persevere through that day and show up and hit your workout, then you're going to experience the change that you want to see. When it comes to consistency, the 80-20 is literally just focus on that hard day. Remember, do the hard work, especially when you don't feel like it. All right, next let's talk about training and effort in the gym specifically. When it comes to training, when it comes to your effort, the 80-20, it's literally just the last 2 reps. So if you have a 10 rep set, the 80-20 works out perfectly. It's literally the last 2 reps. In fact, it's probably the 80-20 of the 80-20. So it's like the 20% of the work that's responsible for 95% of your gains, or maybe something more, or maybe even a little bit more. And the truth is, so that's very, 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 very important. And the truth is, most people don't even get to that point. Most people don't get to that 9th and 10th rep. I truly believe most people are not pushing themselves hard enough. I see it in the gym time and time again. Their sets are mediocre, the effort is low, and the results show. Most people stay average and don't grow because they're not putting in that last bit of effort that's worth everything. That last little bit of, two reps, maybe 3 reps, that's actually gonna drive your growth really hard. If you can rewire your brain and tell yourself that you are wasting time unless you can get to those last 2 to 3 reps, then you can change the way you look at lifting weights. You can change the way you look at doing sets. For me, it was almost like I felt bad if I even left 1 rep in the tank. I remember when I was bulking up, it was like, did I leave a rep out? I always had that thought. I always had that anxious thought. That's a really good thing to have because it forces you to push yourself as hard as possible, which is what you want. That's how you experience the growth. All right, last we've got recovery. So yes, we have sleep, we have deloads, we have ice baths, we have a bunch of other things that people use to boost and enhance their recovery. But the 80-20 of recovery, and I know a lot of people, especially on Reddit, are gonna disagree with this, but the 80-20 for recovery is making sure that you have at least 2 rest days a week. A lot of people don't like this. They want to reject this entirely. They believe that they experience the most growth when they go 6 or even 7 days a week. every single day. The truth is, maybe they did, but that's because they weren't pushing themselves anywhere near as hard enough as they should have. They weren't doing a number of other things right. And the reason why they experienced the most growth when they went the most days in the week is because that was the time they were the most disciplined and they were the most regimented. It doesn't mean that recovery isn't good, and it doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it yourself. Chances are, if you were to look at these people, they probably wouldn't have any kind of impressive physique or any kind of significant muscle mass. They might have, finished off the noob gains, but beyond that, I really doubt that they made significant progress. Ask any pro bodybuilder what kind of split they have, and I bet you they have plenty of rest days. I forget who said it, but I've heard one of them say that rest days are growing days. And so you literally need to, and I mean, that's literally what it is. That's as true as it gets. You've achieved the stimulus, now you need to rest so your body can realize it. You need to rewire the way you look at rest days as growing days. Without having significant periods of rest, it's very hard to realize your gains. It's very hard to recover properly so that you can progressively overload, make the gains you want to make, and increase your muscle size. If you're liking the tips so far in this video, be sure to check the link in the description for further guidance and my personal coaching. Anyways, that's going to be the end of this video. Like the video if you did, subscribe if you're not already, comment your thoughts down below, let me know what you think. What was the 80-20 of building muscle that worked out for you? What was that one thing that switched and made you achieve massive growth? Anyways, with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one.